Chapter 76. Just as Yuan Xueme had expected, there were indeed some demonic beasts hiding in the basin. There were fist-sized deadly bees, 1,000 transformation dragons that could change their skin color freely, King Kong birds that usually hid in the tree trunks and slept, and rock-armored pigs that would go on a rampage when angered. Fortunately, these beasts were not of high levels, and there were not many of them. Only a few of them were injured, and none of them were killed. At this moment, Yi Chen's pure Jun Jin Qi had shown its true power. He could attack with Qi swords from hundreds of steps away, which were as powerful as an early condensing reality realm warrior's full power attack. It could easily save people from danger, and he could also multitask from time to time, shooting out a few Qi swords to help the herb-collecting team members. Swoosh! As the last two deadly bees were shot down by the Qi swords, Yi Chen had a thoughtful look on his face. It seemed that the closer they got to the center of the basin, the higher the chance of beasts appearing. Those deadly bees had come from the beehives in the deepest part of the basin. They were only 1/3 bigger than normal deadly bees, and their flying speed was as fast as birds in the sky. Everyone, let's pick the herbs in the outer part of the basin first, then we can go deeper in. Activating his Jin Qi, Yi Chen's voice traveled miles away, as if it was right next to their ears. Lin Xiaoxue also said, Warrior Yi is right. Let's finish picking the herbs in the outer part first, then gather at my place. Actually, even without Yi Chen's reminder, the herb-collecting team members already knew that it was not safe in the deepest part of the basin. But knowing was one thing, sometimes when they saw some precious herbs not far away, they could not help but walk towards them, completely forgetting about the danger. Yuan Xueme's patrol area was right next to Yi Chen's. Every once in a while, the two would bump into each other. Right then, Yuan Xueme suddenly said, Don't you think the natural Yuan Qi in the basin is too rich? Yes, a little bit. Maybe the herbs in this basin have formed a Yuan Qi cycle, nourishing each other, causing the natural Yuan Qi to be much richer than other places. Yi Chen thought about it, but could not think of any other reason. Yuan Xueme shook her head, It's not the same. Places with herbs do have rich natural Yuan Qi, but I have seen bigger herb gardens, but they are nowhere close to this place. Yi Chen stared at her, You mean, there is something else? I guess so. When we reach the depths, we can investigate it. Yi Chen nodded. If it was really as the other party said, it was necessary to investigate. Perhaps they might find something valuable. Time passed by quickly. By the time most of the herbs in the periphery were harvested, it was already close to noon. Lin Xiaoxue put the baskets of herbs into her storage ring, then took out the food that she had prepared beforehand and handed it out. Miss, how's the harvest? The vice-captain of the herb-gathering team couldn't help but ask. Lin Xiaoxue smiled and said, Based on my initial estimation, the total value of the herbs we just obtained is more than 300,000 silvers. If we make them into pellets, we can easily earn 3 or 4 million silvers. That's good. The Ling family's main path of development was medicine refinement. If there were more medicinal herbs, they would earn more money. If there were losses, they would also be implicated, and their lives would become difficult. They were bound together for good or ill. When they arrived at where Yi Chen and the group were, Lin Xiaoxue said gratefully, Thank you for protecting us along the way. In the future, if you need any pellets, you can buy them from our Ling family. We will give you a basic price. Actually, these were just polite words. The martial disciples were never short of money. If they were short of anything, they would only be short of a lot of money. However, that was not important. What was most important was to have a good relationship with the martial disciples, because it would help the Ling family a lot in the future. Wang Feng said lightly, Since we have accepted the mission, we will try our best. There is no need to thank us. Lin Xiaoxue was a bit embarrassed. As a woman, she would eventually have to marry someone. She did not think highly of those rich young masters. They seemed to be very powerful, but in fact, they only had the power of their families. If they lost their families, they would be nothing. If she had to marry someone, it would be best to marry a martial disciple. For example, a genius like Wang Feng and Yi Chen. Judging from his appearance and temperament, he must be from a big family. He was not short of money, and he was very powerful. He was the ideal marriage partner for most young girls. However, on the way here, she realized that Wang Feng was very cold, and kept people thousands of miles away from him. Yi Chen, on the other hand, seemed to be kind and friendly, but in fact, he was even more ruthless. Yuan Xuemei was smart and she was also a woman, so she could easily understand Lin Xiaoshue's actions. However, she still shook her head. Warriors and normal people would not have much in common, so it would be very difficult for them to get married. In her eyes, Lin Xiaoxue was only a mortal realm warrior after all. If there were no accidents, she would probably be stuck at the condensing reality realm for the rest of her life. When one reached the level of Wang Feng and Yi Chen, the biggest goal in life was to become more powerful. Everything else was secondary. Even when they reached a certain age, if they needed something, they would usually find a woman who was not that different from them, and rarely would they choose a normal person. Putting herself in their shoes, Yuan Xuemei would not fall for a normal person either. If Wang Feng and Yi Chen knew what Yuan Xuemei was thinking, they would probably agree with her. Indeed, for them, no matter how beautiful Lin Xiaoxue was, she was just a normal person. She would not have anything to do with them in the future. Instead of sleeping with her in the future, why would they even bother? Boom! Right at that moment, the ground suddenly started shaking violently, as if something was trying to crawl out of the ground. The next second, a milky white beam of light shot out from the center of the basin. It was about 10 meters thick, and it shot straight up into the sky, creating a huge hole in the clouds. The already rich natural yuan qi above the basin became even more dense, forming clouds of yuan qi fog. It was hazy and invisible, and when one inhaled it, his Jin qi seemed to grow a little bit stronger. Yuan Xuemei blurted out, "Yuan qi turned into a pillar, there is a spirit fountain down there." Hearing her, Yi Chen and Wang Feng looked shocked. They did not expect that there would be a spirit fountain down there. Normally, there would be spirit stones where there was a spirit fountain, and spirit stones were a necessity for warriors. They just did not know how big this spirit fountain was. If it was just a small one, then it would not be a big deal, but if it was a big one, then all of the top martial institutions in the Windy Nation would gather there to fight for the ownership of the spirit fountain. 10 miles away from the basin, the three men in black raised their heads at the same time. Yuan qi turned into a pillar, the spirit fountain has appeared. Should we go back and report to Master Guijiang? After all, the top martial institutions would soon know about the appearance of the spirit fountain. No need, let's use our secret art to cover the smell of the spirit fountain first. Otherwise, even if we report to Master Guijiang, it would be too late. You are right. Let's not waste any more time, let's go. Shoo! 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 The three of them turned into strange black shadows, flying in the dark and lush forest. Their speed was unbelievably fast, and within a blink of an eye, they had disappeared without a trace. Chapter 77. Turning around, Yuan Xuemei said to Lin Xiaoxue, "Now, take everyone and go deeper into the cave." All right. Xiaoxue also knew the importance of the spirit fountain, but she did not have the slightest intention of taking it. With the Ling family's power, there was no way they could take a spirit fountain, even if it was the smallest one. If she thought about it, it would only lead to death. Yi Chen, Wang Feng, and Yuan Xuemei took the lead, while the other two sect disciples brought up the rear. The group of more than 50 people headed deeper into the forest. Chi 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 chi, chi swords shot out, and before the swarm of killer bees could even get close, they were sliced in half in the air, and scattered down like rain. Yuan Xuemei praised, "Brother Yi, your cultivation technique should be pure Jun Jin Qi, right? I've seen a disciple of the Sky Cloud Martial School use it before, but that person could only emit chi aura, and couldn't reach the level of condensing chi into a sword. I wonder what level Brother Yi has cultivated it to. Yi Chen said, I'm not talented, but I recently broke through to the 7th layer. Oh. Yuan Xueme and Wang Feng both looked surprised. It was not that easy to train a top-rank mortal realm art to the highest level. Normally, if a person could train a top-rank mortal realm art to the 5th level within 2 years, he would be considered as a genius, and reaching the 6th level would be considered as a genius, and reaching the 7th level would be extremely rare. The deeper they went, the more demonic beasts there were. He had just killed a group of killer bees when 3 more green armored lizards rushed out. Dripping water pierces stone. As an inner disciple of the Rudra martial school, and a mid-condensing reality realm martial artist, Yuan Xueme was naturally not weak. A thin sword appeared in her hand, she slightly shook her wrist, and 3 thin sword lights shot out. Although they were very fast, they looked very slow. Puchi. 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 The 3 green armored lizards didn't have time to launch an attack. A sword hole appeared on each of their foreheads. They whimpered and fell to the ground. Great sword art. The Rudra martial school's water drop sword spell is indeed worthy of its reputation. Wang Feng's cold voice came out, with a rare compliment. Yuan Xueme replied modestly, I've let the 2 of you see a joke. After walking for another kilometer, the group finally arrived at the center of the basin. The Yuan Qi here was more than twice as dense as outside. The thin mist of Yuan Qi was moist, as if it was going to liquefy into Yuan Qi rain. Unfortunately, because of the impact of the Yuan Qi light pillar, the Yuan Qi of heaven and earth was chaotic and violent, and could not be guided into the body normally. Forcefully guiding it would only make one's Yuan Qi unstable, which was not worth it. Otherwise, it would be an excellent place to cultivate. Looking at the scale of the Yuan Qi light pillar, Yuan Xueme shook her head, so it's a fake spiritual vein. Fake spiritual vein. How can you tell? Yi Chen didn't quite understand. Wang Feng, who was standing on the side, opened his mouth and said, a fake spirit vein is a spirit vein that hasn't fully formed yet. There can't be spirit stones inside. Even if there are only a few of them, and the quality is far inferior to normal spirit stones. They can only be counted as low-quality spirit stones. However, for some small or medium-sized clans, it is already very good. As for how to tell, it's very simple. Look at the color of the center of the Yuan Qi light pillar. If it's white with yellow, it means it's a small spirit vein. If it's white with orange, it means it's a medium spirit vein. If it's white with red, it means it's a large spirit vein. According to the legends, there's a white with purple top-rank spirit vein, but I don't know if it's true or not. Yuan Xueme was very knowledgeable. Hearing this, she said, there is indeed a top-rank spirit vein. 300 years ago, Su King found a small top-rank spirit vein from the bottom of the sea. It was more than 300 miles long, and the widest part was more than 50 miles. He used his peerless power to pull it out from the bottom of the sea, and brought it back to his clan's gate. It made Yuan Qi rain all year round, and the training speed was 100 times faster than the outside world. 300 years. Pulling out a top-rank spirit vein. Yuan Qi rain. Yi Chen secretly clicked his tongue. Although he knew that life and death realm warriors could reverse life and death, and could live for more than 1,000 years, and all of them were extremely powerful, when it was confirmed, he was still very shocked. At the same time, he felt bitter for his lack of imagination. The Yuan Qi light beam lasted for a quarter of an hour before it started to weaken. The huge amount of Yuan Qi was like a fountain, spreading out in all directions, nourishing the plants. At this moment, everyone finally understood why the plants in the basin were so abundant. Most of it was because the fake spirit vein would explode every once in a while, nourishing the plants. Seeing that the plants in the center of the basin were even more abundant and precious, Lin Xiaoxue couldn't help but smile. She ordered the herb-collecting team members, "Hurry, let's get moving. Guards, help out as well. Be careful." Yes. Even without Lin Xiaoxue's order, the herb-collecting team members' eyes had already turned red. They had never seen so many plants in their lives, and they were as abundant as grass. Yi Chen smiled. Even he was very interested in the plants here. However, since he had accepted the mission, he would not do anything that was against the mission. Of course, there were so many plants here, so it was okay for him to pick some, since there were so many of them. Shoo! 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 No one knew when, but 3 men in black appeared outside of the basin. "The Yuan Qi light beam has weakened, let's go and check it out." "Wait, there are a lot of footprints around, there are quite a lot of people." One of the men in black looked around, trying to stop his partner from acting recklessly. The bad-tempered man in black kicked away a startled wild boar and said angrily, "Fuck. Who dares to get in front of us? It should be the herb-collecting team from the nearby cities. Look, all the plants around here have been picked up. They are very experienced. There shouldn't be any powerful warriors in the herb-collecting team, so we don't have to worry about them." The 3 of them talked for a while, then walked towards the deeper part of the basin along with the bushes that had been pushed aside. Their speed was neither slow nor slow, and they always kept the same pace. Soon, the 3 of them arrived at the center of the basin. It really is the herb-collecting team. Didn't they see the Yuan Qi light beam? That's impossible. That light beam can be seen from tens of miles away. Could it be a fake spirit vein? Damn, we came for nothing. What do you mean by nothing? Didn't you see that girl? She is quite pretty. We have stayed in the Ghost Corpse Mountain for many years, and we have never been close to women. Now that we have finally become low-level ghost guards, we are qualified to leave the mountain and try our luck. How could we let go of this opportunity? Hee hee. The 3 of them looked at each other with a strange look on their faces. Shoo! Suddenly, a chi sword flew over from 100 steps away, as fast as a bird. "You are looking for death." The bad-tempered man in black did not retreat, and threw a punch right at the chi sword. Boom! The chi sword exploded, and the sound alerted the people nearby. "You 3, this is not a place for you to stay, leave now." Yi Chen, Yuan Xueme and Wang Feng walked over, coldly staring at the 3 men in black. The 3 men in black were good at hiding their auras, but how could they hide from Yi Chen, who had a powerful soul power? They were discovered by him the moment they appeared. Chapter 78. The leading man in black had a scrawny face, and a pair of narrow and shiny eyes, which contained all kinds of insidious and cunning. He chuckled and said, "It has always been others avoiding us, not us. Brat, you seem to be a disciple of a martial institution. Put down your storage ring and cut off one of your arms. Only then will you have a chance to live. Did you attack me just now? If you cut off one of your arms, I will spare your life. But your female partner will have to stay. A female condensing reality realm warrior should be fun to play with." The man in black with a hideous face looked extremely hideous. "My 2 fellow disciples might not be nice, but this is the only way for you to live. Anyone who resists will die." The man in black who seemed to be the calmest of the group also spoke. On the other side, Ling Xiaoxue and the others had all stopped picking herbs. Their faces were pale. Where did these 3 people come from? They did not look like living people. Their bodies were emitting an extremely evil and horrifying aura, just like demons. "Miss, these 3 are not kind people. I am afraid they are in danger." The captain of the guard team was also a mid-condensing reality realm warrior. His eyesight was 10 times better than Lin Xiaoxue and the rest of the guards. With just a glance, he could tell that these men in black were more powerful than him. Especially the calmest man in black, he seemed to be at the late condensing reality realm. His Jin Qi was filled with a strong evil and corrosive Qi. Ling Xiaoxue raised her hand, let's wait and see. There were 6 condensing reality realm warriors in the guard team, plus 5 martial disciples. There were 11 condensing reality realm warriors in total. The leader and vice-leader of the guard team were both at the mid-condensing reality realm. Wang Feng, Yuan Xuemei and the other 2 martial disciples were also at the mid-condensing reality realm. So, there were 4 mid-condensing reality realm warriors on their side. Obviously, they were more powerful than the men in black. If even the martial disciples could not handle the situation, then they would have to attack together. Ha 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 ha, Wang Feng, who had been silent all this time, laughed out loud, interesting, interesting. I have never seen such an arrogant person. Yi Chen, Yuan Xuemei, each pick an opponent. But leave the most powerful one to me. I would like to see if his words about those who resists will die will come true. Yi Chen smiled, all right, I will take care of the one who looks like a withered tree. Leave the last one to me. Since he wants to play with women, I will let him know how scary women can be. Yuan Xuemei was calm and collected, but her calm tone contained a dense killing intent. Hee hee. Everyone says that sect disciples are incomparably arrogant, and it seems to be true. Kill. The ferocious-looking black-robed man stomped on the ground and punched out, enveloping the 3 of them in his fist energy. He was arrogant and ferocious. Your opponent is me. Yuan Xuemei's hand shook, and the snow-silver thin sword burst out a sky-covering sword light, colliding with the opponent's fist energy. Bang 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 bang, the sound of air explosions rang out incessantly, and the 2 of them quickly moved to another place. Clang! Wang Feng unsheathed his saber and locked onto the aura of the leading man in black. Die! The saber light was like snow, and the saber energy was like a gale. The wind and snow intertwined, making it difficult for the human eye to look directly at them. Wang Feng immediately used the Northern Snow Martial Academy's unique martial art, the Blizzard Sword Art. Compared to Yi Tang, his Blizzard Sword Art was much colder and more violent. Once he used it, the whole world seemed to have disappeared. Only the snow-like sword light could be seen. Corpse King Fist. Explode. The leading man in black was expressionless. Facing the incoming saber light, he directly threw out a punch. The saber light was shattered, and the blizzard disappeared. The man in black was neither happy nor angry, he threw out another punch. Great! Unyielding snow frost. Wang Feng held his saber with both of his hands, and threw out a crazy attack. The icy cold saber light condensed on the edge of the saber, and sliced through the air with the power of the blizzard. A white light flashed, and Wang Feng's attack missed. The man in black's right hand was on the back of the saber, and his left hand formed a fist and threw out another attack. Bang! Wang Feng, who had collided head-on with the man in black, was pushed back 10 steps, and his body seemed to be staggering. Yi Chen frowned, this man in black is not easy to deal with. But Wang Feng is one of the most powerful inner disciples in the Northern Snow Martial Academy, he should have some special skills. It is still too early to tell who will win. Little brat, looking around is a big taboo for warriors. Die. The evil man in black shook his body, and turned into a few beams of black light, attacking Yi Chen from different directions. 10 Ghost Shadow Flash. The black light split open, and then doubled in size, turning into 8 of them. It was like a demon dancing in the sky, and the ghostly shadows were everywhere. Anyone would faint just by looking at it. An almost inaudible air-piercing sound came into his ears, but Yi Chen was not surprised at all. He leaned back, and disappeared without a trace. Crack! A crack appeared on the ground, and the evil man in black looked surprised. His 10 Ghost Shadow Flash was always successful, even late condensing reality realm warriors would be confused by it, and killed easily. But he had never met a condensing reality realm warrior who had a better movement art than him. What the hell? The evil man in black realized that Yi Chen was not easy to deal with, so he performed his 10 Ghost Shadow Flash again. But unlike before, this time, the black light was covered with a layer of grayish-white chi. Wherever it went, the flowers and trees withered, the ground cracked, and a faint burnt smell spread out. Shoo! The surface of his Jin Chi was showing signs of being corroded. Yi Chen did not dare to be careless, he activated his pure Jun Jin Chi's special protective chi. Countless sharp chi flows combined together, killing the grayish-white chi. Break for me! The black light merged together, and the evil man in black appeared behind Yi Chen. His right claw, which was surrounded by the grayish-white chi, grabbed towards Yi Chen. The next moment, the air exploded violently, and a huge hole was created in the protective chi layer, which almost hurt Yi Chen. Of course, the man in black was not in a good condition either. His palms were pierced by the chi layer, leaving many tiny wounds on them. Blood was oozing out of the wounds, as if he had been stung by a hornet. I am so angry. The man in black cursed. The other two were doing very well, and he was the only one who was suffering. But it seemed that this brat in front of him was only at the early condensing reality realm. Without touching the ground, Yi Chen lightly stepped on a herb. Jin Chi has a corrosive effect, I guess you are not supposed to show your identity. So what? The ghost corpse Jin Chi has not shown its true power yet. You are dead, I am going to turn you into a bronze-armored corpse. The evil man in black threw out a palm attack, and a huge amount of grayish-white Jin Chi swept out, rushing towards Yi Chen's position like a flood. The ground cracked and burned, the herbs were burned into ashes, wherever the grayish-white Jin Chi went, nothing could survive, and a black path was created. Yi Chen sneered, you really think I cannot kill you? His whole body was filled with Jin Chi, and Yi Chen's aura kept increasing. Eventually, he jumped out of the ground and rushed into the sky above the red blood forest. At the same time, he slowly threw out a punch, as if he was pulling 10 horses, it was extremely strenuous. Tyrant Fist, the first movement, Tyrant's Rampage. Deciding to end the battle quickly, Yi Chen did not hold back anymore. He directly performed the low-rank Earth Realm Fist art that he had recently mastered, the Tyrant Fist. Chapter 79. Chin. As he threw out a punch, the fist power squeezed the air in front of him, making a loud noise. After the corpse ghost genuine chi resisted it for a while, it flowed backward at an even faster speed. Not only that, the corpse ghost genuine chi was compressed from a few meters thick to half a meter in diameter under the power of the Tyrant Fist. It looked like a grayish-white pillar of light. How is this possible? He infused all of my ghost corpse Jin Chi into his fist power. The man in black opened his eyes wide. His pupils were filled with fear and desperation. Before he could do anything, he was pierced through by the gray light beam. Whoosh! The two halves of the black-clothed man's body began to burn and turn into ashes. Brother Tian. The man in black who was fighting with Wang Feng could not believe his eyes. Although Tian was not as powerful as him, his fighting power was not to be underestimated. Even he would need hundreds of attacks to defeat him. Plus, there were many condensing reality realm warriors in the Ghost Corpse Mountain, and only the most elite disciples could become low-level ghost guards. He thought that with their power, they would be able to compete with the disciples from the martial institutions, and that these small fries in front of him would be easy to kill. But now, reality had slapped him in the face. He was completely stunned. Wang Feng had been suppressed by the man in black. Seeing that the man in black was in a daze, he knew that this was the only chance he had. He threw out a blade attack, and a bone-chilling blade power swept across the area. Whoosh 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 whoosh, the leader was a late condensing reality realm warrior after all. As soon as he sensed the incoming blade power, he immediately activated his Jin Qi and created a grayish-white circle of light, blocking the incoming ice-cold and explosive blade power. Corpse King Fist. Die. With bloodshot eyes, the man in black threw out a punch. Wang Feng had already experienced the Corpse King Fist from the man in black. It was extremely powerful and had a corrosive effect, which could destroy Jin Qi. He did not dare to take it head-on. His feet touched the ground and flew backward. At the same time, the colorful snow blade in his hand did not stop. He threw out 13 blade lights. The man in black did not look at the result. He bent down and punched the ground. Hell Locust Wave. The ground within a radius of 10 meters started to shake. The next second, a 5-meter thick gray mushroom-shaped air burst out and swallowed Wang Feng. Yi Chen frowned and was about to help. However, it was no longer necessary. Wang Feng, who was holding the colorful snow blade, cut open the air barrier and stepped out. He slashed down from the sky, followed by a second slash, a third, a fourth. He slashed out 38 times in a row. Each slash stacked on top of each other, forming a huge astral saber. The astral saber extracted all the air in front of it, forming a vacuum without any resistance. This caused the speed of the slashes to increase by more than 3 times. Like a sudden clap of thunder, the astral saber struck where the black-clothed man was. Kacha. A deep scar appeared on the ground, and the flowers and trees nearby fell. Yi Chen looked very serious. What a horrifying attack. Under this kind of attack, even if his pure jade body boosting spell had reached the peak of the 3rd level, he still wouldn't be able to block it. Only by reaching the 4th level would he be able to block it. Facing this attack, the only thing he could do was to not get hit. The inner disciples from the North Snow Martial Academy were indeed not easy to deal with. Their fighting abilities were not any weaker than the Emerald Martial Palace's disciples. In some sense, they might even be stronger. The black-clothed man's body was completely destroyed. The astral saber was way too fast, and the black-clothed man was not as fast as the one killed by Yi Chen. Pooh! Puking out a mouthful of blood, Wang Feng's face turned pale. He knelt down on one knee. Stopping Yi Chen from coming over, Wang Feng said, "I am fine. This is the side effect of forcefully performing the vacuum-killing blade. My qi and blood are flowing backwards. You should go check on Yuan Xueme. Vacuum-killing blade. What a powerful name." Yi Chen nodded and walked to the other place where the battle was taking place. Spring rain. In the thick grass, Yuan Xueme's feet did not touch the ground. She looked like she was weightless. The thin silver sword in her hand was shaking at an extremely fast speed. It was so fast that it was almost impossible to see it with naked eyes. Only beams of sword light could be seen flying out, like a light rain in the spring. Chi 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 chi, the grass under the black-clothed man's feet was full of holes, as if he had just experienced a locust disaster. He had to put up a defensive layer to block the continuous sword lights. Summer rain. Seeing that the black-clothed man had blocked the first wave of sword lights, Yuan Xueme looked normal. The sword aura in her hand changed from gentle to violent and impatient. Impossible. How could I be suppressed? Being under the cover of the sword lights, the black-clothed man knew better than anyone else how horrifying the sword lights were. If it was just a spring rain before, then it was a summer storm now. It kept pouring down, washing his defensive layer. Autumn rain and thunder. Without giving the black-clothed man any chance, Yuan Xueme's sword aura changed again. The sword lights contained the poetic perspective of thunder and lightning. It was like a thunderstorm in the autumn, stunning and desolate. Crack. The defensive layer cracked open. The black-clothed man screamed in fear, "I give up. I will leave right now. Don't kill me. Please don't kill me." Yi Chen shook his head. Compared to the previous two, this black-clothed man looked so miserable, which did not match his face at all. However, this also reflected the complexity of people's hearts. No one's appearance could truly reveal their inner qualities. There were those who appeared forthright on the surface, but were dark on the inside. There were those who were refined, but were secretly licentious and shameless. There were also those who appeared to be sanctimonious, but were actually thieves and prostitutes. They were more hateful than the so-called villains. Yuan Shuemei had already planned to kill him. How could she let this black-clothed man go? The sword aura in her hand became even stronger. The violent thunder sword light almost drowned the black-clothed man in it. Crack, 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 more and more cracks appeared on the black-clothed man's defensive layer. Finally, it could not bear the attack anymore and collapsed. The black-clothed man who had lost his defense was instantly pierced through by the sword light, turning into a hornet's nest. Phew! Yuan Shuemei let out a mouthful of turbid air. Her body sank, and her feet landed on the ground. Her forehead was covered in sweat, reflecting a crystal-clear light. Yi Chen smiled and said, "The Rudra Martial School's 4 Seasons sword art is amazing. Unfortunately, I did not get to see the most powerful winter sword art. The 4 Seasons sword art is an Earth Realm sword art. How could I learn it? This is only the 4 Seasons rain sword art that was derived from the 4 Seasons sword art. It is far from the real 4 Seasons sword art. It is not even worth mentioning. On the other hand, Brother Ye's fist art is so earth-shattering. It can actually merge with the opponent's chi and attack back, killing them with only one attack." Yuan Shuemei looked at Yi Chen with a smile. Yi Chen shook his head and forced a smile. It was not easy to gain the upper hand with words from Yuan Shuemei. On the Ling family's side, everyone suddenly let out a sigh of relief. Their palms, which were holding their weapons, were full of sweat. They were ready to charge at any time. Although some of them would be injured or killed, they did not care about that. However, martial school disciples were indeed martial school disciples. Although they did not seem to have the upper hand on the surface, when they really fought with their lives on the line, they used all kinds of ace attacks and killed the 3 black-clothed men. Compared to them, the fighting power of these people was miles behind. They did not even have the qualification to look at their backs. Chapter 80. Alright, let's keep going. It's getting late, we have to get back before dusk. Lin Xiaoxue said as she brushed the hair off her forehead. Miss, you are right. I do not dare to spend the night in the Red Blood Forest. I am afraid that I will not be able to see the sun tomorrow. Indeed, the night in the Red Blood Forest is 10 times scarier than the day. Hurry, everyone, hurry. Thinking about the horrors of the Red Blood Forest, everyone's expression changed, including the 6 condensing reality realm warriors in the team. Yuan Shuemei said to Yi Chen, "We will have to rely on Brother Yi when we get back. I have just performed the Spring Rain sword art, the Summer Rain sword art and the Autumn Rain sword art in a row. My meridians have been damaged, I am afraid I can only use 70 to 80% of my power." She then looked at Wang Feng, who was sitting with his legs crossed, and continued, "Wang Feng's vacuum-killing blade is very aggressive, his side effects are even worse than mine." Yi Chen nodded and said, "Don't worry, I am here." The first movement of the Tyrant Fist art was not weaker than the vacuum-killing blade art, and it had the same side effects. Fortunately, Yi Chen's body was extremely powerful, his chi power had already reached 15,000 pounds, which was the limit of his physical strength. In the future, it would be 10 times more difficult to increase his chi power, unless he reached the 4th or 5th stage of his pure jade body boosting spell. The man in black did not have a storage ring on him, but Yi Chen did not care. He found a clean place and sat down with his legs crossed. He took out a low-rank soul stone and started to recover his Jin Qi. Time passed quickly, and the sun was slowly setting. Although she was reluctant to leave, Lin Xiaoxue still decided to leave the Red Blood Forest immediately. The journey back was not smooth, but the number of beasts had obviously decreased. Perhaps, the true horrors of the Red Blood Forest would only be revealed at night. The moment everyone walked out of the Red Blood Forest, the sky was completely dark. A waning moon hung high in the sky, lonely and bleak. Woo woo woo, vaguely, everyone could hear the sound of a woman crying in the depths of the forest. Their backs suddenly went numb, and they started sweating profusely. Luckily, we came out early. This Red Blood Forest is too scary. No one has ever been to the deepest part of it. I heard that at night, there will be ghosts in the forest. The vice-captain of the team wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. The others felt the same way. After exiting the forest, the rest of the journey was easy. In less than 2 hours, everyone returned to the bustling Blackrock City. Yi Qin stayed at the Ling residence for one night. The next morning, Yuan Xuemei and Wang Feng parted ways and returned to their respective sections. Time passed quickly for a martial artist. 1 month passed. During this period, Yi Qin was like the other inner court disciples. He spent 2 days cultivating, 3 days accepting tasks, and in the middle, he had to hurry and find his way. It might look boring, but it was not. Every time he went to a new place, Yi Qin would learn about the customs of that place. There were all kinds of quests, not all of them were fighting and killing. Occasionally, there would be a letter delivery mission. A week ago, Yi Qin had delivered a letter to the Windy Nation's great general Li Zhenghao, who had also rewarded him with a military crossbow, which could break the protective Zhen-Qi of a normal condensing reality realm warrior with one shot. On this day, Yi Qin had just returned from a 1-star gray rank mission. On the way up the mountain, some inner court disciples were not in a hurry to return to the floating cloud palace. Instead, they were walking slower and slower, discussing something important. Do you know what happened in the Emerald Martial Palace? What could happen in the Emerald Martial Palace? Don't tell me it was destroyed like the evil Earth Martial School. It's not possible. All of the top 5 martial institutions have some powerful martial artists. Even the powerful martial artist who destroyed the evil Earth Martial School would not dare to attack us. Not destroyed, but it has something to do with the young generation. Brother Fong, you like to keep us guessing again. What is it? Just say it. Young Master Emerald has reached the Clasping Yuan realm. Although the voice was not loud, the inner court disciples who were walking up the mountain heard it clearly. What? Young Master Emerald has reached the Clasping Yuan realm? Is it true? The first big hurdle for a martial artist is to break through from the condensing reality realm to the Clasping Yuan realm. If you are not talented enough, you will not be able to make the breakthrough within 3 to 5 years. If you are not talented enough, you might be stuck at the peak of the late condensing reality realm for the rest of your life. That's right. This young Master Emerald had reached the peak of the late condensing reality realm a year ago. How did he make the breakthrough so quickly? Doesn't that make him the most powerful martial artist among the young generation in the Windy Nation? Young Master Duanmu and Young Master North Snow have already been surpassed by him. The inner court disciple called Brother Fong said, "This time, my mission is not far from the Emerald Martial Palace. I heard that the leader of the Emerald Martial Palace, Zhuang Qingxian, will come out of his closed-door training and hold a celebration party for young Master Emerald. He has also invited all the top martial institutions." Wow, it seems to be true. This young Master Emerald is indeed talented. A few years ago, there were 3 young masters who could compete with him. Unfortunately, our second brother from the Sky Cloud Martial School was not strong enough and was surpassed by the other 3. Now, it is young Master North Snow and young Master Duanmu's turn. Hearing this news, Yi Qin was also very surprised. Although the peak of the late condensing reality realm was only 1 step away from the Clasping Yuan realm, without great talent and perseverance, it would be very difficult to make the breakthrough. However, once a martial artist reached the clasping yuan realm, he would be able to fly as fast as a bird in the sky. If he had enough Shen Qi, he would be able to travel 10,000 miles in just one day. Every single move he made would have a destructive power. Killing a condensing reality realm martial artist would be as easy as killing a chicken or a monkey. In other words, if young Master Emerald wanted to kill young Master Duanmu and young Master North Snow, he would only need a few moves. But to kill young Master Cold Mountain from the Sky Cloud Martial School, he would only need one move. He would become the real #1 martial artist among the young generation of the Windy Nation, and no one would be able to compete with him. At this time, the disciple continued, besides this, the Emerald Martial Palace has gained another core disciple. I heard that her name is Ji Xuan. This girl is extremely talented. She reached the late condensing reality realm at the age of 16. After learning the Earth Realm martial arts of the Emerald Martial Palace, she defeated all the core disciples and became one of the best among the core disciples. Some people secretly called her, Young Master Emerald, Palm End, Lu Wuxiang and Stone Man, Sherpatian as the 4 kings of the Emerald Martial Palace's young generation. Ji Xuan, is she a disciple of the Ji family? I know her, she has the title of leaving no trace on the snow, in the martial world. Her movement art is very good. Ji Xuan. Hearing this, Yi Chen's expression didn't change much. However, it gave him a lot of pressure. He was still an early condensing reality realm martial artist. Although he could defeat geniuses with higher cultivation levels, he was not sure if he could defeat a late condensing reality realm martial artist, not to mention a late condensing reality realm martial artist. I have to improve my cultivation as soon as possible. Yi Chen thought to himself, then sped up his pace. Chapter 81. The so-called peak of the early condensing reality realm and the peak of the mid-condensing reality realm were actually stuck at the breakthrough point, unable to break through. After 10 days of hard training, Yi Chen had finally reached the peak of the early condensing reality realm. He was only one step away from the mid-condensing reality realm. However, he did not want to be stuck at this point. Once he lost his motivation, he would have to waste another month or 2, he could not wait any longer. Break through with all your might. While enduring the pain in his meridians, Yi Chen operated his pure Jun Zhen Qi with all his might, continuously making a large circle. At the same time, he held a low-rank soul stone in each of his hands. In case he ran out of Zhen Qi, he could use the soul stones to break through. The vast and boundless night sky was dotted with stars, and a bright moon hung in the middle of it, shining brightly. A gentle breeze was blowing, the leaves on the treetops were rustling. After a moment of silence, with the courtyard as the center, the chi of heaven and earth within a radius of 1,000 feet suddenly began to move, like the changing of the wind and clouds, or the coming of a storm. Slowly, slowly, the chi of heaven and earth revolved and contracted around the entire courtyard, gradually sinking down, shaped like a giant funnel. Hoo, the drastic change of the yuan qi caused a violent airflow, the gentle breeze suddenly turned into a hurricane, the sand and stones on the ground were flying everywhere. Someone is breaking through. Ever since he had been promoted to an inner disciple, Yi Chen had moved to an inner disciple's yard on the mountainside, where all the other inner disciples with the same status lived. The distance between them was less than 10 feet, of course, this kind of change could not be hidden from the others. The yuan qi funnel became smaller and smaller, at last, it drilled into the house, shattering the roof. On the bed, Yi Chen's face was alternating between red and white, streams of sharp qi were moving around his body, and from time to time, he lost control and shot thousands of holes into the furniture. Success or failure, it all depends on this, break. Suddenly, Yi Chen's face turned ferocious, he did not care about the side effects of his weak Shen Qi, he sucked in a huge amount of natural yuan qi into his body, giving people the illusion that he was a snake trying to swallow an elephant. Pop! Almost at the same time, a ball of transparent qi spread out, all the furniture and windows were shattered, a few big cracks appeared on the wall, and the cracks spread out like a creeper. After dispersing the excess heaven and earth yuan qi, Yi Chen felt the tearing pain lessen a lot, and the real qi whirlpool in his dantian showed faint signs of strengthening. This was a crucial moment to test one's willpower and talent. Those who did not have enough willpower would likely lose their drive and fall short of success, stopping at the peak of the early stage. Those who did not have enough talent would have a great force suppressing their realm. No matter how arrogant they were, they would not be able to take another step forward. Yi Chen had perseverance, and he didn't lack talent either. What he lacked now was to take that step. Jinqi Great Circulatory Cycle 180 times. 220 laps. 250 rounds. Yi Chen had surpassed his previous limit. His Jinqi cycle had reached an astonishing 250 revolutions, 10 more than the previous record. This was not the end. Yi Chen used his powerful soul force to control his Jinqi so that it would not scatter and fail at the last step. Then, he sped up his great circulatory cycle. When it reached the 280th cycle, the heaven and earth yuan qi in his body was completely refined into true energy, and like rivers flowing into the sea, it shrunk into his dantian and fused into his true energy vortex. Buzz! 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 The Zhen Qi vortex expanded 3 times in a row, and finally stabilized. Only then did Yi Chen open his eyes. A bright light flashed in the room, bringing up beams of illusory lightning. He had truly achieved the stage of creating lightning out of thin air. Reaching the peak of the early condensing reality realm in 10 days, and then reaching the mid-condensing reality realm in one go, it was really difficult. Yi Chen let out a breath slowly, and a smile appeared on his face. Reaching the mid-condensing reality realm was not a simple breakthrough. When he was only at the early condensing reality realm, he was able to defeat Wang Kunyang, who was at the peak of the mid-condensing reality realm. Now that he had reached the mid-condensing reality realm, even if that bloodthirsty monster came looking for him, he would not be afraid anymore, and he would definitely be able to kill him. Of course, if he were to fight against the core disciples of those martial institutions, it would still be a bit difficult. After all, being able to become a core disciple meant that he was one of the most powerful late condensing reality realm martial artists. Some of them had even trained low-rank Earth realm martial arts, which meant that they were much more powerful than the current Yi Chen. However, even if he could not defeat a core disciple, Yi Chen was confident that he could escape unharmed. Give me some more time. Once I reach the peak of the mid-condensing reality realm, I will be able to compete with the core disciples. Yi Chen thought to himself. The news that young Master Emerald had become a clasping Yuan realm martial artist had spread in the Sky Cloud Martial School 10 days ago. Whenever people had free time, they would talk about it. For other people, it might be a topic of gossip, but for Hidden Fragrance Sword, Zhu Mei and Child Hans Han Luo Hans Han, it was a huge pressure that almost crushed them and made them unable to breathe. At their level of cultivation, no one would be willing to be under someone else. They would train hard every day, and strive to become one of the most powerful young martial artists in the world. But now, young Master Emerald had reached the clasping Yuan realm before them, which meant that he had completely left them behind and became the leader of the younger generation. The leader of the younger generation of the Windy Nation. What kind of glory was that? What was happening in the outside world had nothing to do with Yi Chen. He was busy entertaining Wu Zongming. Wu Zongming rarely came to visit Yi Chen, but when he saw Yi Chen, he couldn't help but gasp in shock. You have reached the mid-condensing reality realm. Yi Chen said, I just made the breakthrough, my Zhen Qi is not stable yet. I can't help but admire you. A year ago, you were still at the mortal realm stage 6, but now, you have already surpassed me, and even surpassed Zhang Haoren. Zhang Haoren was very talented, but he had not reached the mid-condensing reality realm yet. He was still at the peak of the early condensing reality realm. Yi Chen knew all of this. Oh right, you should have heard about the news that young Master Emerald had reached the clasping Yuan realm, right? Wow, he is indeed one of the top 4 childs of the Windy Nation. He was already on the verge of becoming the leader of the top 4 childs a year ago, and just as I expected, he was the first one to make the breakthrough. Wu Zhongming said with a sigh. Pouring a cup of tea for Wu Zhongming, Yi Chen said, if the others can turn the pressure into motivation, it is not impossible for them to catch up with young Master Emerald. It is difficult. Wu Zhongming shook his head, picked up the teacup and took a sip, then smiled bitterly and said, these things are too far away from us, it is useless to talk about it. This time, I came to ask you if you want to go to the Northwest Auction House. Yi Chen raised his eyebrows, you mean one of the top 5 auction houses in the Windy Nation? Wu Zhongming nodded, yes, the Northwest Auction House is located in the Forgotten City, it has existed for hundreds of years, it has a longer history than most of the big martial institutions. As one of the top 5 auction houses, the Northwest Auction House's auction items are all rare and precious, many of which are extremely beneficial to the warriors. You must have heard some news, right? Yi Chen said. The Northwest Auction House has a small auction every 6 months and a big auction every 3 years. Although it is a small auction this time, there are a lot of rare items, it is said that there are 3 Zhenqi pellets among them. Hearing this, Yi Chen's interest was piqued. The Zhenqi pellet was an extremely precious pellet, it had a 50% chance of helping a condensing reality realm warrior to advance to the next level, it was equivalent to an enhanced version of the condensing reality pellet. Even though he had just made the breakthrough and did not need the help of external items, but if the auction house had this kind of precious pellet, he might find some other interesting things. Alright, let's go. Yi Chen agreed. Chapter 82. Every disciple of the martial school had to complete a mission within a month, even the core disciples were no exception, unless they were approved by the higher-ups. Fortunately, both Yi Chen and Wu Zhongming had completed more than one mission this month, so they did not have to worry about not having enough time. They would be fine even if they came back next month. The second day. At the foot of the mountain, the two of them rode on their dark brown horses and galloped towards the northwest direction. The journey to the Forgotten City was 28,000 miles long. On the way, they had to pass through 4 cities, 2 mountains and a large plain. The cities were not dangerous, and they could replenish their rations and eat some food. However, the mountains and the plain were never safe places. There were countless demonic beasts, horse gangs and robbers, and there were countless dark martial artists. In the eyes of the bandits, the weaker martial artists were fat sheep, and there was nothing wrong with killing them. The sky was blue and clear, and there were a few white clouds floating in the sky. On the northwest plain, the cool wind carried a strong smell of blood. These horse gangs must have thought of us as fat sheep. Wu Zhongming used a black cloth to wipe the blood off his long knife and grinned. Sitting on the horse, Yi Chen looked down at the dead bodies of the horse gangs on the ground. Among the dozens of horse gangs, 2/5 of them had been cut in half, and the rest of them had their heads blown off. They died a horrible death, and the blood and flesh stained the grass red. There were only 2 of us, and we were riding on dark brown horses. These horse gangs probably couldn't resist the temptation, and thought of us as chicks. You don't say. After knowing that we were the inner disciples of the Sky Cloud Martial School, one guy wanted to run away. It seems like the disciples of the big martial schools are really scary, and they can do whatever they want. However, the dark martial artists are not included in this. They really think of the disciples of the martial schools as fat sheep. Yi Chen nodded. The number of martial artists in the underworld was much less than that of bandits and horse bandits. However, every martial artist in the underworld was an abnormally valiant existence. They were able to fight against the disciples of the big sections. There were some lucky ones among them who had inherited the true teachings of their deceased seniors. In terms of martial skills, they were not at a disadvantage at all. In addition, they had been fighting all year round. Their killing intent could scare ordinary people to death. In terms of momentum, they were much stronger. Before, they had met a mid-condensing reality realm warrior in the outskirts of the Azure Mountain, who had knocked Wu Zongming off his horse with only one spear attack. If he had thrown out a second spear attack, Wu Zongming would have been dead for sure. Yi Chen would not let that happen, so he killed him with one punch. I've heard that the Forgotten City is the largest city in the northwest. It has a length and width of 50 miles, and there are more than 10 million people living there. I wonder what kind of scene it is, Wu Zongming said as he sat back on his horse and looked into the distance. Hearing him, Yi Chen thought of the world he came from. In the ancient times, a city that could accommodate hundreds of thousands of people was already considered not bad. It was nothing compared to the true spirit continent. From this point of view, it could be seen how vast the true spirit continent was. It was not something that could be imagined. Pulling the reins, the two of them squeezed the horse's abdomen with their legs and galloped forward. In the evening, the sun was setting. The sunset glow in the west and the great plain behind them contrasted with each other, creating a beautiful and spectacular scene. Two teenagers riding on dark brown horses, one on the left and the other on the right, followed the surging crowd and arrived outside of a huge city. These two people were indeed Yi Chen and Wu Zongming. They had spent 1 day and 2 nights to finally cross the northwest plain and arrive at their destination, the Forgotten City. Behind the crowd, Yi Chen raised his head. The first thing he saw were the 3 golden characters on the city gate. Forgotten City, Ho. Letting out a heavy breath, although Yi Chen had mentally prepared himself, such a huge city still surprised him. It was at least 5 to 6 times bigger than the windy city near the Sky Cloud Martial School. The city gate was 33 meters tall, and the city wall was 66 meters tall. On top of the city wall, there were groups of fully armed soldiers patrolling back and forth with expressionless faces. Here we are. Wu Zongming looked a little tired. Yeah. Let's go in. Seeing that it was almost their turn, Yi Chen jumped off the horse. Leading the horse, the two of them walked to the city gate. There were 2 rows of armored soldiers standing in front of the city gate. Each of them looked very energetic with their temples bulging. Obviously, they were Mortal Realm Stage 5 or 6 warriors. The leader of the soldiers had even reached Mortal Realm Stage 10, not far from the condensing reality realm. 1 silver per person. If you want to sneak in, you will have to ask the blade in my hand first. The leader of the soldiers was not in charge of collecting the entrance fee, he was staring at the people entering the city. Wu Zongming curled his lips, 1 silver. So expensive. The windy city only costs 50 copper. Yi Chen laughed, you still care about this small amount of money? Of course I don't care about this small amount of money, but it is a lot for the commoners. Forgotten City is the biggest city in the northwest. It is not a good thing to collect a small entrance fee. Everyone wants to go in, and it will be crowded to death. In this aspect, Yi Chen had more foresight than Wu Zongming. That's true. After paying the entrance fee, the two of them entered the city smoothly. The Forgotten City was indeed the biggest city in the northwest. As soon as they entered, they were completely shocked. In front of them was a street that was wide enough for dozens of horses to run side by side. The shops on both sides were extremely luxurious, as if they were built with gold. In the distance, there were many tall wooden buildings rising from the ground. Just like Luo City, the Forgotten City also had a tall tower located in the center of the city. It's really incredible. Yi Chen shook his head. If the Forgotten City was full of modern high-rise buildings, he would not be so surprised. After all, everything in front of him was built by human beings, without the assistance of any machines. Moreover, in terms of luxury, the Forgotten City could not compete with the modern cities. West of the city. Shilai Restaurant. In the private room named Chen. Yi Chen and Wu Zongming ordered a table of dishes and ate with relish. The business of this restaurant is so good. Except for the private rooms, the outside is full. But the food is not bad. It is 100 times better than dry food. I am going to get sick from eating so much. Warriors all had a large appetite. In just a short while, Wu Zongming had already eaten 3 servings of food. Outside the private room, the waiter came in with another plate of dishes. You too, this dragon and phoenix bringing prosperity is a gift from our restaurant. Please enjoy. There were 16 private rooms in the Shilai restaurant, which were named Sun, Moon, and Stars respectively. Each code had 4 private rooms, and only the private rooms had precious dishes as gifts. People outside had to pay for them. Yi Chen asked, "May I ask when the auction of the Northwest Auction House will start?" The waiter's heart trembled. Those who could participate in the auction were all rich. These two must be the young masters of some big family with extraordinary backgrounds. He immediately said enthusiastically, "2 masters, the auction of the Northwest Auction House will start in 2 days. You can stay in the Shilai restaurant. So there are still 2 days. Then wait. This is a tip for you." Yi Chen threw a piece of silver to the waiter. It was worth 10 taels. "Thank you 2 masters. If there is nothing else, I will take my leave first. Go do your thing." Not long after the waiter left, an angry voice came from outside the private room. "What, all the private rooms are full? Are you kidding me? Do I, Tang Manlu, have to sit and eat with those lowly people? Master Tang, all the private rooms are full. Why don't you wait a little longer? I think some of the masters should have finished eating already." The waiter was terrified. "Humph, I will give you 10 minutes to clear out a private room. Otherwise, I will hold you responsible." Chapter 83. The waiter did not know what to do. Those who could enter the private rooms were all influential people, and they could not be messed with easily. However, this Tang Manlu in front of him was not an ordinary person either. He was one of the top 8 warriors of the Forgotten City, and his family was only second to the top 8 families. "Please wait, I will ask the manager." The waiter did not dare to make the decision, so he ran downstairs. On the ground, the well-dressed young man sneered and said to the beautiful lady next to him, "I heard that there are many treasures in this auction. I am afraid a lot of people have heard about it." The beautiful lady said, "My Purple Sun Martial School's second disciple, Ouyang Ming, will be here." "Oh, Ouyang Ming is here too." Tang Manlu's expression changed slightly. Ouyang Ming, who had the title of Little Godly Legs, was also one of the top 8 warriors. However, he was the leader of the 8 warriors, and his power was immeasurable. He was ranked second among the young generation of the Windy Nation. Indeed. Other than that, the North Snow Quick Blade Lynch from the North Snow Martial Academy will be here as well. I heard that he is here for a great blade. Tang Manlu did not have the arrogant aura that he had before. Compared to the 2 people mentioned by the young man, he was nothing. Soon, the manager who was over 60 years old hurriedly ran over. "Io, isn't this Master Tang? What brings you here?" Tang Manlu said impatiently, "Manager, you, hurry up and prepare a private room for me. You will get the money. Don't tell me you don't have it. That is easy, leave it to me. Then it will be easy." Pulling the waiter aside, the manager said in a low voice, "Li Lin, who are the people in the 16 private rooms? Tell me." The waiter nodded and bowed. "The first private room is for the mayor's son, the second one is for the leader of the Luo family, and the third one, do you have a brain? Who told you to call out the owner of the Sun VIP room? They are all important people and you can't touch them. Call them out from the Star VIP room." The manager slapped the waiter's head and berated him. "Yes, yes." The waiter wiped the sweat off his forehead and said, "The one in the Star room is a middle-aged man. He is very powerful, he should be a clasping Yuan realm warrior. The one in the Star room is. The one in the Qin room is 2 teenagers. I heard that they are here for the auction." The shopkeeper was silent. It sounded like everyone was of high status, but the Shilai restaurant was located in the Forgotten City. Naturally, they had to satisfy the local bigwigs first. Even if the two youngsters with the number 4 Chen were from a big family, it would not affect their business. Moreover, Tang Manlu's Tang family was there to support them. Go and invite the guest of Chen number 4 out. Let them go to the restaurant a few streets away. As for the previous dishes and wine, give them free of charge. After careful consideration, the manager gave the order. The waiter hesitated. But what? Hurry up. Do you want me to fire you? Don't forget that there are many people who want to be waiters in the Shilai restaurant. They are waiting in line. I'll go. Please don't fire me. The waiter hurriedly ran to the 4th private room with the character Chen. Pushing open the door of the room, the waiter rubbed his hands and said in a low voice, "Masters, I hope you can give this room to the guests outside. The dishes and wine that you have eaten before are all free of charge." Wu Zongming was eating fish. Hearing this, he stared at the waiter and said, "We are not guests. As for the dishes and wine, what a joke. Yi Chen, can't we afford it?" Yi Chen sneered, "There are so many restaurants in the Forgotten City. They will find a place to eat. The shopkeeper said that you should." The waiter knew that he had said something wrong and hurriedly covered his mouth. "Shopkeeper." Yi Chen raised his eyebrows and his eyes lit up. Being scared by Yi Chen's eyes, the waiter stammered and couldn't say a word. He had already cursed Tang Manlu in his heart. Why did he come at such a time and make things difficult for me? I can quit. No, the Shilai restaurant pays me well. I can't quit. Outside the room, Tang Manlu was getting impatient and scolded, "Shopkeeper, is it not done yet?" "Almost done, I will go and have a look." They hurriedly came to the number 4 private room, and the innkeeper ordered them to leave. "Sirs, I'm really sorry, but this private room has already been reserved. You should go to another restaurant." Bang! Wu Zongming smashed his chopsticks on the table. "Are you bullying us because we are foreigners? I will be sitting here today. Who dares to kick us out?" The shopkeeper braced himself. "I advise you to go somewhere else. You can't afford to offend the masters outside." "Who is it that we can't afford to offend? Let him come in and show us." "Well, you two should leave." Since he had already done this, the shopkeeper did not expect to be safe. He could only offend one of them. "How dare you!" Wu Zongming roared. At this moment, the door opened again. Tang Manlu and the beautiful lady walked in. They were already impatient and were ready to kick them out. Tang Manlu glanced at them and saw that one of them was at the early condensing reality realm and the other was at the mid-condensing reality realm. He said disdainfully, "You two, please. Don't embarrass yourselves." Yi Chen also looked at him and said, "You don't have the ability to do that." Tang Manlu sneered, "Don't talk big. The Forgotten City is not like other places. Don't think that just because you are the king of your own territory, you can do whatever you want here. I, Tang Manlu, will make my words clear. No matter if you are a dragon or a tiger, you will have to bow down to me. Otherwise, don't say I didn't warn you." "Oh, Tang Manlu, I have never heard of this name. I would like to see how you are going to make me bow down to you." Standing up, Yi Chen stared at him. It seemed like he was going to fight if there was any disagreement. The beautiful lady shook her head. This person was too arrogant. It seemed like he had never been bullied at home. He was just going against Tang Manlu. He was going to suffer a bit later. The shopkeeper saw that the situation was not good. If these people started fighting, it would ruin the reputation of the restaurant. He immediately said to Yi Chen, "Sir, Master Tang Manlu is one of the 8 heroes of our happy city. The Tang family is also one of the top families in the city. They are not people you can mess with. Listen to my advice and leave immediately. Otherwise, it would be a small matter if you get hurt, but losing face is a big matter. Wu Zhongming laughed out loud. Tang Manlu had already activated his Shen Qi and said coldly, "What are you laughing at? Trying to compare your family background with Yi Chen? You really don't know what's good for you. Even my Wu family does not dare to compare with Yi Chen's family." The manager heard something wrong. "I wonder which family this young master is from." Wu Zhongming said loudly, "Listen carefully. My companion is the son of the leader of the Yi family, one of the top 8 families. He is also a genius of our Sky Cloud Martial School. He is one of the top figures in the entire Windy Nation. The Tang family is not worth mentioning. This young master is the son of the leader of the Yi family." The manager felt a little dizzy. He had really poked a hornet's nest. As one of the top 8 families, the Yi family also had a stronghold in the Forgotten City. They were very powerful, and the Western Arrival restaurant could not mess with them. He did not expect that he would actually ask the other party to leave. Wasn't he looking for death? If the Yi family heard this news, they would definitely not let it go. After all, as one of the top forces, their reputation was the most important. Being slapped in the face was like touching a tiger's butt. For a moment, the manager was frightened and did not dare to speak. Chapter 84. Tang Manlu and the pretty girl were shocked as well. Although the top 8 families were not as powerful as the top 5 martial institutions, their influence in the whole Windy Nation was not something that their families could compare with. As for the martial institutions, it did not mean much. Nowadays, anyone with a little bit of talent would be able to join a martial institution. No one could use the power of a martial institution to scare the others, unless you were the son or daughter of the leader. The pretty girl remained silent, as if she had nothing to do with it. He, one of the top 8 families, the Yi family is indeed powerful, but that's all you can do. Relying on your family's power, without the protection of your family, you are nothing. Tang Manlu calmed himself down. He did not want to lose face in front of the shopkeeper and the pretty girl, so he said lightly. Wu Zhongming said with disdain, "You are also relying on the Tang family. I think, without the Tang family's support, you would not be one of the top 8 warriors of the Forgotten City. You are looking for death." Tang Manlu's eyes were filled with anger. Slowly walking in front of Wu Zhongming, Yi Chen lifted his eyelids and said, "Words are useless. Let's exchange a punch. Whoever takes one step back will have to get the hell out of the number 4 private room. How about that? Are you serious?" Hearing Yi Chen, Tang Manlu was shocked at first, but then a smile appeared on his face. He was still in a dilemma. He didn't know if he should advance or retreat, but he didn't expect Yi Chen to be even more arrogant and ignorant than he had imagined. Yi Chen actually dared to challenge a late condensing reality realm warrior. He was just asking for trouble. Although he was not a core disciple of the Emerald Martial Palace, he was still one of the most powerful inner disciples. How could he be afraid of a mid-condensing reality realm warrior? Of course. Yi Chen had never exchanged blows with a late condensing reality realm warrior before. This was the perfect opportunity for him to see how powerful he was. As for losing, he did not even think about it. When he was at the early condensing reality realm, he could already beat Wang Kunyang, who was at the peak of the mid-condensing reality realm with only one punch. After reaching the mid-condensing reality realm, his power had increased a lot. Even if his opponent was a core disciple, he would not be able to avoid this punch. Tang Manlu turned his head and said to the shopkeeper and the pretty girl, "That's great, shopkeeper Li Ling, you two can be our witnesses. I am afraid that someone will not admit it." The shopkeeper smiled at Yi Chen, but did not say anything. "Sure." The pretty girl, Li Ling, nodded in agreement. However, it was obvious that she did not think highly of Yi Chen. She thought that he was blindly confident and could not see the truth. "Enough nonsense, let's begin." Yi Chen did not dare to be careless. he pushed the third movement of the pure jade body boosting spell to its peak. His skin started to emit an inconspicuous jade-like luster, even his clothes were covered by a layer of it. His hair had a strong texture, each strand of it was crystal clear. Wu Zhongming, shopkeeper Yu, and Li Ling retreated to a corner to make room for them. Fine, today I will show you my strength. With every word he said, Tang Manlu's aura rose by a notch, and in the end, a flame-like colored glazed qi exploded from his body, soaring into the sky, and some of the decorations on the walls were blown away. Li Ling narrowed her eyes. She knew that Tang Manlu could not be underestimated. He had reached the highest level of the 7th level of the Azure Magic Spell, in only a couple of years, and had reached the level of fire-like Xin Qi. It seemed like there was no doubt about the result of this battle. Shoo, 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 while Tang Manlu was making such a big noise, on the other side, Yi Chen was not any slower. Sharp qi shot out from his body like needles, piercing the floor and the tables and chairs on the side, creating countless small holes. Not only that, the sharp qi flow formed into qi swords, hiding in the air. The 7th level of the pure Jun Jin Qi. Li Ling was shocked. As an inner disciple of the Purple Sun Martial School, she had fought a lot with the inner disciples of the Sky Cloud Martial School. She had seen a few of them who had trained the pure Jun Jin Qi, but they had only reached the peak of the 6th level. None of them had reached the 7th level. According to the rumors, the pure Jun Jin Qi was the hardest to train among all the top-rank mortal realm martial arts in the Sky Cloud Martial School. If he was given enough time, he would definitely become a core disciple. Li Ling still did not think highly of Yi Chen, but she was quite optimistic about his future. Even if he trained it to the 7th level, it would still be useless. The difference between the mid-condensing reality realm and the late-condensing reality realm is not as simple as you think. Tang Manlu was not worried at all. He slowly tightened his right fist, making a cracking sound. It was as if his palm was not made of flesh and blood, but a whole piece of jade that was rubbing against each other. Great Jade Breaking Fist. A bright white light appeared on his fist as Tang Manlu threw out a punch. Rumble. Before the punch was completely thrown out, the whole restaurant started to shake. The customers who were eating were confused, not knowing what was happening. Inside the number 4 private room, the air started to shatter bit by bit. Yi Chen ignored the change in the air, he stood still. With the protective qi covering his body, these small movements could not hurt him at all. Tiger Roar, Dragon Fist. Seeing the fist approaching his body, Yi Chen did not stand still anymore. He took a step forward, and his right fist suddenly burst out a bright blue light. It pierced through the air with a tiger roar, leaving a dragon-shaped qi flow behind. The two fists clashed together. The next second, including Li Ling, everyone's eyes could not see anything. Only the white light and the blue light intertwined together, filling up the huge private room. Boom! A thunderous sound was heard. The walls of the private room cracked, the floor cracked, the tables and chairs were shattered, and a series of cracking noises were heard. It seemed like someone was pushed back and crashed into something behind him. After a few blinks of the eye, the blue light and the white light disappeared. When they saw the situation in the private room, they all had their eyes wide open, they could not believe what they saw. Tang Manlu lost. Li Ling took a deep breath. Inside the damaged private room, Yi Chen stood there unmoving like a mountain. The clothes on his right arm were slightly torn, and his eyes moved to the opposite side. There was a human figure leaning against the wall, and the huge power had even caused the wall to collapse. Bright red blood flowed down from his right arm and mouth, and his face was pale and bloodless. This person was none other than Tang Manlu. Get the fuck out. Yi Chen's voice was heard. He was not too excited about beating Tang Manlu with only one punch, since he had 15,000 pounds of physical strength. His tiger roar, dragon fist had been trained to the peak, it had already evolved into the most powerful attack. If he still could not beat Tang Manlu back, then it would be a problem. Not to mention, Tang Manlu was not that much stronger than Wang Kunyang, who also had 10,000 pounds of physical strength. Good, very good, I will not let today's incident go so easily. Tang Manlu was not seriously injured, after all, he was a late condensing reality realm warrior, his protective Shen Qi was very strong. However, the shame in his heart was driving him crazy, he could not wait to cut Yi Chen into 1,000 pieces. Standing up, Tang Manlu walked out of the private room in embarrassment, he did not even call Li Ling. Chapter 85. Li Ling took a deep look at Yi Chen and walked out of the room, leaving the restless manager Yu behind. Since he had made a mistake, he had to make up for it himself. With a face full of remorse, Manager Yu said, Master Yi, I was blinded by a ghost and did something that offended you. Please don't take it to heart, Master Yi. From now on, there will always be an empty private room in Shilai restaurant, waiting for your arrival. Yi Chen did not plan to blame the shopkeeper, since it was not easy for him to do anything. Everything he did had to be done according to other people's wishes, and if he was not careful, he might offend someone. Before this, if he did not kick Yi Chen and Wu Zhongming out, he would offend Tang Manlu. Don't worry, I won't cause you any trouble. It's just that we haven't finished our meal. Find us a place, even outside, but don't chase us away, Yi Chen said lightly. Yes, I will do it for you right away. Manager Yu was so grateful that he bowed and retreated. After Manager Yu left, Wu Zhongming looked at the broken Chen room and shook his head. He said firmly, this time, no matter what price I have to pay, I must get a Jin restoration pill. Yi Chen said, although there will be some side effects, as long as you can control it, it won't be a big problem. To a warrior, cultivation was a way to go against the natural order. As long as one's heart was not corrupted, there was no need to worry. Soon, Manager Yu arranged a place for the two of them in the hall on the second floor and personally served them food and wine. He was very enthusiastic. 2 days passed in the blink of an eye. The third day. Early morning. Light rain fell from the gloomy sky, sprinkling evenly on the ground of the Forgotten City. In the north of the central part of the Forgotten City, there was a magnificent building. It was stable and 30 meters tall. There was a huge board hanging above the door, with 5 majestic golden words carved on it, Northwest Auction House. Looking down from the sky, there were dozens of people around the huge Northwest Auction House, rushing towards the auction house along the streets or alleys. Among them, there were rich and powerful people sitting in palanquins, noblewomen raising low-level demonic beast pets, and young elites riding fine horses. Of course, there were even more unfamiliar martial artists, which made up 70% of the total number of people. Outside the gate, Yi Chen looked at the words on the board and walked in side by side with Wu Zhongming. You two are. The receptionist outside the door could tell that the young man was extraordinary at first glance, so she hurriedly came over to ask. After all, a person of noble status could not sit in the ordinary seats like the others. Wu Zhongming said, this is a direct descendant of the Yi clan, Yi Chen. I am a descendant of the Wu clan. The Yi family, one of the 8 great families. This way, please. I'll take you to a private room. The receptionist secretly rejoiced. As a receptionist, she must have good eyesight. Although she did not know some people, she could tell a thing or two from their temperament. She must not treat them as ordinary people and neglect them. The young man in front of her was actually a direct descendant of the Yi clan, so he was definitely of noble status. Although there were many Wu clans mentioned, to be able to walk together with a direct descendant of the Yi clan, it must be the most powerful Wu clan. Walking in front, the receptionist in a thin silk dress twisted her waist. She was already thinking about how generous the reward would be when the higher-ups knew about this. The auction house was very big, even more magnificent than the auction house in Yi Chen's world. The surrounding walls were inlaid with many gold and crystal stones, forming a beautiful pattern. It did not look vulgar at all, but instead gave people a sense of joy. The private room for the two was directly opposite the stone auction stage to the left. The private room was not big, and there were not many things inside. There were only a few beast leather chairs and a red sandalwood table filled with snacks and fruits. There were some landscape paintings on the wall. If you need any service, you can tell me. I'll be right outside. She was not the only receptionist. Each of them was in charge of a private room. Yi Chen said, "Okay." The receptionist walked out and closed the door. Wu Zhongming sat down on the beast leather chair. It was soft and had a nice fragrance. Private rooms are great. There are even beast leather chairs to sit on. Yi Chen sat on the leather chair next to Wu Zhongming and laughed, "That's all. You are the second young master of the Wu clan after all. Don't mention it. The inheritance of the Wu clan will not be mine. I don't care anyway. I'll just be an outer elder in the Sky Cloud Martial School." Wu Zhongming put a grape in his mouth and said. Yi Chen shook his head and did not say anything. His goal was simple. He wanted to become stronger and explore the mysteries of the world. In the third private room, there were 5 young people sitting there. The one on the left was Tang Manlu, who had been defeated by Yi Chen last night. Sitting next to him was the pretty girl, Li Ling. The one sitting in the middle was a young man wearing a purple and gold robe. He was about 17 or 18 years old. His eyebrows were very thick and sharp like blades. His eyes were shining brightly like 2 shiny black gems. His legs were very long, about 3 to 4 inches longer than a normal person's. As he sat there, boundless pressure filled the entire private room. It was obvious that he was the leader of the 5. The 2 people on the right of the young man were wearing the same purple robe as Li Ling. They did not have any gold robes. They had a powerful aura, which was no weaker than Tang Manlu's. "Tang Manlu, I haven't seen you for half a year. Your cultivation has improved a lot." The young man caressed the storage ring on his finger and said casually. Tang Manlu had a complicated look on his face. He said, "Not as good as you, Yang Ming. You have the title of Little Godly Legs. I don't know how many people have been killed by your legs." "Of course. In the whole Windy Nation, except for the young Master Emerald who has already reached the clasping Yuan realm, our brother Ouyang is one of the most powerful martial artists." One of the 2 people on the right said. Of course. But I heard that this time, the 3rd disciple of the North Snow Martial Academy, North Snow Fast Blade Lynch will also come. I am afraid that he is also here for that great blade. Sitting with the young man, Tang Manlu always felt inferior. He could not help but use the name Lynch to pressure the young man. Yang Ming sneered, "North Snow Fast Blade Lynch. I will fight him sooner or later. Let's see which is more powerful, his blade or mine." Although his title was Little Godly Legs, his blade art was also very powerful. It was not weaker than his leg art. However, there were too many people who used blades, especially in the North Snow Martial Academy. That was why he was called Little Godly Legs. Right at that moment, a human figure suddenly appeared on the crystal glass in front of them. The human figure was wearing a snow-white robe. He was tall and skinny. He seemed to be walking very slowly, but the waitress behind him could not keep up with him. She almost fell down. She looked like she had seen a ghost. Judging from his temperament, the human figure was very impressive. However, when people looked at his face, they were very disappointed. Because he had a very ordinary face, so ordinary that they would not be able to find him in a crowd. Lynch. Yang Ming's eyes flashed like lightning in the air. He slightly lowered his center of gravity, which made the sturdy leather chair creak. As if he had sensed Yang Ming's gaze, the human figure turned his head and looked into Yang Ming's eyes. The waitress was very confused. The crystal glass could only show the outside from the inside, but not from the outside. Why did this disciple of the North Snow Martial Academy look like he was looking at a person? Chapter 86. In the private room, Tang Manlu didn't look Lin Qi in the eye, but Lin Qi's gaze made him jump in fright. He had the illusion of being cut by a knife. It was as if Lin Qi's gaze was a knife light that could cut through illusions and hurt people's souls. It had an inconceivable power. In the void, Yangming and Lin Qi's eyes had already clashed. Countless electric sparks were produced, and they refused to give in to each other. After a few blinks of an eye, both of them looked away. North Snow Quick Blade. Yangming sneered, his face did not look so good. Although Lynch was not as powerful as young Master North Snow, his gaze was more powerful. Just now, it seemed like they were evenly matched, but in fact, Yangming was already at a disadvantage. No wonder the leader of the North Snow Martial Academy, Xue Wuren, thought that Yangming would be the most likely person to comprehend the blade intent. However, as long as he did not comprehend the blade intent, Yangming was confident that he would be able to compete with him. Outside the private room, Lynch expressionlessly walked forward and stopped in front of the private room next to Yi Chen's. Yi Chen suddenly frowned, he seemed to feel a blade aura approaching him. Yi Chen, what's wrong? Wu Zongming asked. Yi Chen shook his head, nothing, the auction is about to start. Yeah, most of the people have arrived. Oh right, how much money did you bring? 180,000 gold. You didn't ask your family for money? 180,000 gold was a huge amount of money for normal people, but it was normal for them. This time, for the Zhen pellet and some other treasures, Wu Zongming had collected 300,000 gold. Yi Chen's family was much bigger than the Wu family, if he really wanted to collect, it would definitely be more than this amount. Yi Chen laughed, that's enough. I'm just going to take a look, maybe I won't buy anything. 180,000 gold was the Bloody Butcher's entire wealth and the money he had earned from his recent missions, it was already quite a lot. If there was something he was interested in, he still had 10,000 low-rank soul stones in his storage ring. If each one was worth 2,000 silver, then 10,000 low-rank soul stones would be worth more than 20 million silver, or 2 million gold. It was even more than the total assets of some small families. When the time comes, you will regret bringing too little silver. Wu Zongming grinned. Yi Chen's mind was not completely focused on the conversation with Wu Zongming. His powerful soul force penetrated through the wall and searched the room next door. There was only a young man sitting in the private room. His appearance was ordinary, and he was dressed in a white robe. His slim body was straight, and his profound qi was not emitted from his body. Instead, it was pulled inwards, as if he was trying to concentrate his qi. Peak of late condensing reality realm, this guy should be North Snow Fast Blade Lynch. Yi Chen did not think of young Master North Snow, because young Master North Snow was said to be very handsome, and always had a smile on his face. Plus, he was very handsome, and was the dream of all the female disciples in the Sky Cloud Martial School. Lynch didn't know anything about soul power exploration, but the strange feeling still made him vigilant. He tilted his head and looked at the flat wall. Did you notice it? No, I didn't. Yi Chen noticed that the other party's gaze was scattered and did not notice him. Of course, there was no point in continuing to explore, so Yi Chen withdrew his soul power. Lynch felt that the strange feeling disappeared. He was a bit confused, but he didn't think too much about it, because the auction had begun. Behind the stone auction stage, an old man in a yellow robe walked up. He clapped his hands, and all the crystals above the auction house suddenly lit up. The soft light illuminated every corner of the auction house. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Northwest Auction House. I am the intermediate auctioneer here, Qian Zongqiao. I think a lot of you already know me. For those of you who don't know me, you don't have to remember my name, because the next time you come, I might be the host of the auction again. Before the auction, I still have to say, if you have any precious items that you want to auction, you can entrust them to our auction house. Items are divided into 4 ranks according to their value. Low-rank treasures will only take 10% of the auction fees, mid-rank treasures will take 5%, high-rank treasures will be auctioned for free, and as for the extreme-rank treasures, we will even pay you the money. Once he said this, the people below started discussing. Are you kidding me? If there are high-rank and extreme-rank treasures, who would take them out to auction? You must be out of your mind. That's right. A low-rank treasure is enough to make people fight for it, and mid-rank treasures can make clasping Yuan realm and astral-reaching realm warriors go crazy for it. Top-rank treasures are even worse, not to mention extreme-rank treasures. Yi Chen was also speechless. The ranking of the auction items was the same as the storage rings, which were divided into 4 ranks. A low-rank storage ring was equivalent to a low-rank treasure, and a mid-rank storage ring was equivalent to a mid-rank treasure. As for top-rank and extreme-rank treasures, he dared not even imagine what it would be. The elder in yellow revealed a smile. He did not say these words casually, but to stir up the people's emotions. Once people got excited, they would do things that were hard to understand, which was exactly what the auction house wanted. Alright, I will not waste your time anymore. The auction will officially begin. Let the first item come up. As the elder's voice faded, a beautiful lady walked up from the back. She was holding a golden-laid wooden plate, which was covered with a bright yellow silk cloth. The golden-laid wooden plate was placed on the stage, and the elder in yellow lifted up the silk cloth. All of a sudden, a blue manual appeared in front of everyone's eyes. The first item is a martial skill manual, called the Green Yuan Palm, a top-rank mortal realm martial art. It is a unique martial art from the rank 8 martial institution, the Green Yuan Martial School, from hundreds of years ago. When trained to the extreme, the palm power can even shatter a great sword into pieces. It is extremely powerful. It is even more powerful than many top-rank mortal realm martial arts. The starting price is 20,000 gold, and each increment must be no less than 1,000 gold. Hearing the elder in yellow's introduction, the audience was shocked. Some of the warriors who did not join any martial institution were envious. They were not like the martial disciples, who could learn top-rank mortal realm martial arts after being promoted to inner disciples. They did not need to worry about it at all. Most of them had only learned top-rank mortal realm martial arts, and some of them had only learned mid-rank mortal realm martial arts, which was quite shabby. Damn, let's do it. If we can learn a top-rank mortal realm martial art, we will be able to make a name for ourselves in the martial world. Those martial disciples will not compete with us, so we will have a better chance of getting the manual. We have to get it. Through the crystal glass, Yi Chen saw the changes in the crowd and shook his head. Compared to the martial disciples, these warriors did not have it easy. All they learned were trash, and the martial disciples would not even look at them once. However, according to the introduction, the Green Yuan Palm seemed to be very powerful, and it might even be as powerful as the Tiger War Dragon Fist. No wonder so many people wanted to come to the Northwest Auction House. 22,000 gold. Someone could not help but start to bid. After the first bid, the whole auction house became chaotic, and people kept calling out bids. 23,000. 25,000. Fuck, 28,000 gold. A ferocious-looking warrior stood up. I will bid 30,000, who dares to compete with me? 30,000 is nothing, 35,000. Yi Chen was shocked. No way, a top-rank mortal realm martial art can be sold for 35,000 gold, then what about my 180,000 gold? Chapter 87. 40,000. The ferocious-looking warrior directly added 5,000 gold. It was obvious that he was determined to get this Qin Yuan Palm manual. Damn it, I only have 38,000 gold, I still need 2,000 gold. Whoever wants to lend me, I will pay you back double in the future. Someone tried to borrow money from the warrior next to him. We don't care about 2,000 gold, but what if we run into some good stuff and don't have enough gold? So sorry, we can't do that. You are right, the small auction only happens once every half a year. If we miss this one, we will have to wait for another half a year. How can we borrow money? At this moment, no warrior wanted to borrow money. After all, they only had around 50,000 gold. If they were short of 1,000 gold, they would lose a lot of confidence. It was not wise to lend money to others. In the end, the Qin Yuan Palm Manual fell into the hands of the ferocious-looking warrior for 40,000 gold. The second item, 3 groups of low-rank soul stones, 100 in each group. They will be auctioned separately. The starting price for each group is 20,000 gold, and each increment must be no less than 1,000 gold. Start. The elder in yellow robes lifted the silk cloth and announced loudly as the golden-laid wooden plate was placed on the stage. What? Low-rank soul stones. I haven't used low-rank soul stones for a long time. This time, I have to get a set. With low-rank soul stones, I might be able to reach the late condensing reality realm in a short time. It is priceless. 100 low-rank soul stones are enough for me to use for more than a year. Off the stage, all the warriors who didn't belong to any martial schools went crazy. They all breathed heavily, their eyes were bloodshot as they stared at the low-rank soul stones on the stage. They just wanted to go up there and snatch them away. 22,000 gold. 25,000 gold. 28,000 gold. 30,000 gold. The price of the first group of low-rank soul stones rose sharply. The elder in yellow robes stood on the stage with a smile on his face. The higher the price of the item, the more stable his position would be, and the higher his salary would be. Soon, the first group of low-rank soul stones was bought by an extremely ugly warrior for 35,000 gold. The bidding for the second group of low-rank soul stones began. Perhaps it was because there was one less group, but some of the cultivators who had been watching from the sidelines couldn't help but join in the bidding. This caused the price of the second group of low-grade spirit stones to quickly surpass the first group. It reached 38,000 gold taels and was won by a middle-aged cultivator. When it was the third group's turn, the scene was completely heated up. Those cultivators who didn't manage to get the low-grade spirit stones earlier desperately put in all their belongings, vowing to win the last group of low-grade spirit stones. In the private room, Yi Chen was also shocked. He thought that a low-rank soul stone would be worth 250 gold, but he never thought that it would be worth nearly 400 gold. Didn't that mean that the 10,000 low-rank soul stones in his storage ring were worth 4 million gold? 40,000 gold going once, 40,000 gold going twice, 40,000 gold going thrice. Sold, congratulations to this martial artist. The elder in yellow let out a sigh of relief after the third group of low-rank soul stones had been sold. It seemed that low-rank soul stones were in high demand. Unfortunately, the lowest price of the auction in the Northwest Auction House was 20,000 gold. Otherwise, they could be separated into groups of 10. In this way, those warriors who didn't have enough wealth would definitely try their best to fight for them, even if it was 500 gold per piece. After all 3 groups of low-rank soul stones had been delivered to the buyers, the elder in yellow cleared his throat and said with a loud voice, "Next is the third item, the ancient half of a sword." Shoo! The silk cloth was lifted up, revealing the upper half of the sword in front of everyone. Perhaps it was because it was too old and broken, the sword still looked dim under the crystal light. Damn! What the hell is this? What is this thing? Half of a sword, even if it was originally a mid-rank treasure, it would not be valuable anymore. Who would want to bid for it? Look! Maybe there is something hidden in it. No one could tell what was going on. Their eyes landed on the elder in yellow, wanting to hear his explanation. The elder in yellow was prepared for this. He reached out his hand and picked up the sword and said, according to the appraisal experts of our auction house, this half of the sword is 500 years old. In other words, this is an antique with 500 years of history. In addition, 500 years ago, it might have been a top-rank great sword, but for some unknown reason, it was broken by someone and lost its spirit. A 500 years old antique, a top-rank great sword. What a pity. If it was still in good condition, some of the people from the Windy Nation and even the South Rudra region would definitely come to fight for it. A broken top-rank great sword with no spirit. Why would they want to buy it? Maybe some antique collectors would go and bid for it. Anyway, it has nothing to do with us. Yeah, let's just watch from the sidelines. Let's see what this broken thing is like. Hearing the comments from the audience, the elder in yellow smiled bitterly. This half of the sword indeed did not have any practical use. It only had 500 years of history left. Hopefully, it could be sold for a good price. Of course, there was nothing that could be done if it could not be sold. The previous 2 rounds of publicity had already been done. Whether it lived or died would depend on the next round. Is this the other half of the broken sword? In the private room, Yi Chen's eyes shone with a bright light. He stared at the half of the sword on the stone auction stage without blinking. This half of the sword was also dull. Its width was the same as the broken sword that he had bought at the 9 Cauldron Pavilion. Even the crack was almost the same. Only the middle part was missing. If he was not mistaken, the 2 parts were originally one, but they were separated due to various reasons. Now, the bidding begins. The starting price is 20,000 gold. Each increment must be no less than 1,000 gold. The elder in yellow looked around and took a deep breath before saying loudly. There was a moment of silence. I bid 21,000 gold. The one who spoke was an elder in his 70s. He had a gray beard and was wearing an old-fashioned black robe. Someone recognized the elder's identity. He was one of the few antique collectors in the Forgotten City. He loved to buy strange things and put them in his house for his own appreciation. He would not allow others to see them even if they wanted to. Even his own family members were no exception. He was known as an old-fashioned old man. In the private room, Yi Chen did not rush to bid. He had to keep his composure. Otherwise, it would easily arouse others' suspicions if he attacked fiercely. There was silence in the hall. No one made a bid. The elder in yellow knew that it was time to liven up the atmosphere. 21,000 gold. Who wants to bid a higher price? Don't forget, this half of the sword could be a fragment of a high-grade sword. Even if it has lost its spirituality, we might still be able to find something useful in it. Moreover, it has 500 years of history. It's really a long history. The hall was still silent. At this moment, Yi Chen raised the plate in his hand. 22,000 gold. Good. Someone has increased the price. Good eyes. Who else wants to bid? This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. The elder in yellow said excitedly. 30,000 gold. This time, it was not the elder collector who bid. It was Ouyang Ming who was in the 3rd private room next door. Tang Manlu asked doubtfully, Brother Ouyang, is this half of the sword very important? Ouyang Ming said calmly, it's nothing. It's good to buy it for my collection. After all, this small amount of money is nothing. Chapter 88. 30,000 taels of gold, someone is raising the price again. What are you waiting for? The yellow-clothed old man's voice was even louder. The price of 30,000 taels of gold had already reached his estimation. Even if no one continued to raise the price, he was already satisfied. The old collector raised his board, 31,000 taels. 32,000 taels. Yi Chen also raised the price. Ouyang Ming disdainfully smiled, 40,000 taels. I won't raise the price. Although this thing is to my liking, it is not worth this price. It is better to buy other antiques. The old collector gave up on raising the price. You should have given up a long time ago. Isn't it just half a sword? Why spend tens of thousands of taels of gold? The warrior beside him laughed. What do you know? As long as it is an antique, there is a research value. Okay, I don't know, but you do. In the private room, Yi Chen frowned and raised the price to 41,000 taels. Wu Zhongming was confused. Yi Chen, what's wrong with you? There are still many treasures after this. There is no need to waste money on this broken thing. Do you really think you can find something from it? Without its spirituality, this half of the sword is about the same value as a normal treasure sword. Yi Chen said, since we are here to participate in the auction, we have to buy something back. Hee, I can't do anything to you. Wu Zhongming shook his head. 50,000 taels. Ouyang Ming raised his board. This amount of gold was nothing to him. He had been an inner disciple for many years and had completed hundreds of missions. His accumulated wealth had reached a terrifying level. Even some of the middle-class families might not be as rich as him. A mere 50,000 taels of gold was nothing to him. The yellow-clothed old man's heart almost jumped out of his chest. This was too inconceivable. The half of the sword that he thought no one was interested in was actually sold for 50,000 taels of gold. It was far beyond his estimation. Moreover, it seemed that the other side did not plan to give up. Below the stage, everyone also felt that it was very strange, but they were not very surprised. Every time there was an auction, there would always be some dark horse. Some worthless things would be auctioned for a very high price, while some valuable treasures could not be sold. Another two rich people who have nowhere to go, someone said enviously. 80% of them are sect disciples. These people are really rich. Sigh, it's a pity that we're not talented enough. Otherwise, we would have entered the sect long ago. Now, we could at least become outer sect elders. How impressive. That's enough. They're raising the price again. 55,000 taels. Yi Chen added another 5,000 taels. 60,000. 65,000. 70,000. 80,000. 90,000. Yi Chen's expression was very ugly. He had originally thought that no one would bid for the half-sword until now. Who would have thought that things would go against his wishes? Instead, the price had risen all the way to 90,000. He really didn't know if that person was deliberately trying to join in on the fun, or if he really wanted to buy it. Raising his sign, Yi Chen bid, 100,000 taels. Suck. Everyone on the scene gasped. 100,000 taels of gold was not a small amount. Many mid-condensing reality realm warriors would not be able to earn this amount even after 10 years of hard work. After all, warriors spent a lot of money, and they would never try to save money when it came to buying pellets. Although 100,000 taels of gold is not a big deal, there is no need for me to continue bidding. It's not like I have much use for it anyway. I'll just keep it as a collection. Plus, I've tricked that person. I think that person would feel bad about it. Ouyang Ming sat on the demonic beast leather chair with a faint smile on his face as he teased. A disciple of the Purple Sun Martial School said flatteringly, if we knew who that person was, we would definitely ask him to treat us. Brother Ouyang has already given him a lot of face. Yeah, when the auction is over, let's go and see who that person is. Ouyang Ming said, you guys, don't be so quick to jump to conclusions. I don't want him to treat us. Just ask him to lend me the half-sword for a few days. Hearing Ouyang Ming, Li Ling bitterly smiled. She thought to herself, that person better not go against second brother. Otherwise, he will suffer a lot. In the whole Windy Nation, there were not many people who could go against second brother, 100,000 taels going once, 100,000 taels going twice, 100,000 taels going thrice, sold. Congratulations to the VIP in room number 7, this half-sword will be delivered to you immediately. The elder in yellow was so happy that he looked like he had just picked up 100,000 taels of gold. Soon, the pretty girl walked in with the half-sword in her hands. TSK, even this piece of junk is worth 100,000 taels of gold. Wu Zongming only took a glance at it, then lost interest. Yi Chen handed the pretty girl 10 gold notes worth 10,000 taels of gold each, then took the half-sword from her and threw it into his storage ring. Yi Chen scanned the sword with his soul power. He thought to himself, these two are indeed one, but there is still a small part missing. I wonder if I can gather them all. Yi Chen could vaguely hear a loud laughter coming out of the half-sword. It was so ancient that it left a deep impression on him. He knew that there must be something special about it, otherwise, he would not have spent 100,000 taels of gold to buy it. The fourth item is 3 Zhenzhen pellets. I think everyone knows what they can do. That's right, they can increase a condensing reality realm warrior's cultivation by 50%, and the side effects are very small. Besides that, you can take this pellet 3 times in a row. The first time is 50% chance, the second time is 30% chance, and the third time is 10% chance. Whoever can buy 3 of these pellets will definitely be able to increase his or her cultivation by 1 level, unless he or she is very unlucky. After the previous surprise, the real hot item officially appeared on the stage. It was the Zhenzhen pellet that Wu Zongming had been dreaming of. There were 3 of them in total, and each of them was priceless, especially for those warriors with low talent. The 3 pellets will be auctioned separately. The starting price will be 30,000 taels of gold, and each bid must be at least 2,000 taels of gold. Wu Zongming could not wait any longer. He raised his sign and said, 50,000 taels of gold. Buzz. Everyone in the auction house was confused by this price. Who is this guy? Why did he bid such a high price at the beginning? Is he trying to kill us all? Some of the warriors who were not rich enough were gritting their teeth, but they could not do anything about it. They were not as rich as him, otherwise, they could have just bid 1,000,000 taels of gold, and see who would dare to compete. 55,000 taels. After a moment of silence, someone started to bid. Wu Zongming grinned, 70,000 taels, 80,000 taels. A martial disciple started to bid 100,000 taels. Wu Zongming continued to bid 120,000 taels. 150,000 taels. In the end, the first Zhenzhen pellet fell into Wu Zongming's hands, which shocked everyone. Martial disciples were indeed martial disciples, they were all extremely rich. The starting price of the pellet was 30,000 taels of gold, but it was raised to 150,000 taels of gold, which made them feel completely hopeless. The second pellet was not as popular. It was bought by someone who looked like a martial disciple for 130,000 taels of gold. The third pellet was raised again. It reached 160,000 taels of gold. It was also bought by a martial disciple. The elder in yellow was very satisfied with this result. He cleared his throat and said, "Next up is the most important item, a low-rank Earth Realm Martial Skill Manual." What? A low-rank Earth Realm Martial Skill? Are you kidding me? Including the guests in the private room, everyone was shocked. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.